It's past midnight in New York City, and the rain falls like shattered glass from the heavens, relentless, cold, and strangely rhythmic. Neon lights from Times Square stretch their glow across the slick streets, painting the puddles in streaks of blue, red, and gold. The city, usually deafened by noise and movement, now breathes quietly, a beast asleep under a silver sky. Somewhere in Midtown Manhattan, in a towering glass apartment overlooking the city, Keanu Reeves stands by his kitchen counter, wearing a gray hoodie and soft slippers. The gentle hiss of a kettle boiling fills the silence. He moves calmly, methodically, a man at peace in a restless world. The rain taps softly against the wide windows behind him, as if warning him of the storm building outside. He reaches for a cup, pours the steaming tea, and sits near the window. From here, he can see the world, the taxis crawling like fireflies below, the mist swirling around the skyscrapers, and the lonely figure of a street musician packing his violin under a flickering streetlight. For a moment, Keanu allows himself a rare smile. He has no idea that within minutes his name, once synonymous with peace and humility, will be splashed across every news screen in the city. Then it begins. At first it's faint, a low hum echoing through the distance. Then it grows louder, sharper, closer. Sirens, not one or two, but dozens. Their flashing lights reflect off the wet pavement, bouncing off every glass surface in the neighborhood. Keanu sets down his cup, his instincts shifting. Years of discipline and awareness tell him this isn't normal. He glances outside, sees a convoy of black and white NYPD SUVs speeding through the intersection below, tires screeching, radios blaring. Something is coming. Within seconds, the building's courtyard is filled with flashing red and blue lights. Officers pour out like shadows, armed, tense, shouting orders through the storm. A drone hovers near the upper floors, its camera lens glinting like a watching eye. Keanu takes a slow breath. "This can't be right," he murmurs, moving toward the door. Before he can react, a thunderous knock shakes the apartment. "NYPD, open up!" The voice is commanding, urgent, and unfamiliar. Keanu steps back, confused. He hasn't broken any law, hasn't even spoken to the press in months. The knocks turn to pounding, then a crash. The door bursts open, splinters flying across the marble floor. Dozens of officers storm inside, weapons drawn, flashlights blinding him. "Hands where we can see them!" one shouts. Keanu freezes, his teacup still warm in his hand. His calm eyes meet theirs, not with fear, but disbelief. "There's been a mistake," he says softly. But the world outside doesn't believe in mistakes tonight. Because in the next few minutes, Keanu Reeves, the man loved by millions, will be treated like a criminal, and nothing in New York will ever be the same again. The room is filled with the metallic click of weapons being drawn and the echo of heavy boots on marble. Rain-soaked officers fan out across the living space, shouting commands over one another. The sharp beams of flashlights cut through the dimness, illuminating the framed photos on the wall. Quiet reminders of a life built on discipline and peace. Keanu stands still in the center of it all, his posture straight, his expression calm. The steam from his forgotten tea drifts into the air like a ghost. "Face the wall! Hands behind your head!" barks the lead officer, a tall man in a soaked trench coat, his badge glinting beneath the flashing lights from the windows. Keanu obeys silently. There's no point in resisting. The cold metal of the handcuffs clicks shut around his wrists, the sound oddly final, echoing in his mind like a door closing. A young officer hesitates nearby, clearly uneasy. He whispers to his partner, "That's Keanu Reeves. Are we sure about this?" The trench-coated detective shoots him a look sharp enough to cut steel. "The warrant's real, evidence from Homeland. We do our job. No exceptions." Cameras flash outside as drones hover by the window. Within seconds, news alerts start buzzing across the city. Breaking, actor Keanu Reeves detained in New York investigation. Inside the SUV, the air is heavy. Keanu sits between two officers, wrists still cuffed, raindrops sliding down the glass beside him. Outside, New York blurs, neon streaks blending into chaos. He doesn't speak for several minutes. He simply watches the city he's lived in for decades roll past, the same streets where fans once waved and smiled, now patrolled by suspicion and fear. Finally, he breaks the silence. "You really believe I'm dangerous?" No one answers. The officer in the front keeps his eyes on the road, jaw tight. Another shifts uncomfortably, avoiding Keanu's gaze. The silence is thick until the trenchcoat detective, now in the passenger seat, turns slightly. "Someone tipped us off. Said you're hiding a fugitive, a contract killer from overseas. Evidence traces back to this address." Keanu frowns. "That's impossible. I live alone." The detective glances back at him, eyes narrow. "Then how do you explain this?" He holds up a photo displayed on a tablet, blurry surveillance of a man entering the same building 2 nights earlier. The face is half hidden, but something in Keanu's chest twists. He recognizes that silhouette. A ghost from his past. The vehicle speeds through the rain, sirens wailing behind them. Keanu leans back, mind racing, heart steady. Whoever set this up, they knew everything. His schedule, his habits, even his apartment's security blind spots. He whispers to himself, barely audible, "You finally came back." Outside, lightning splits the sky, revealing the city skyline like a flash of judgment. The SUV slows as they reach the precinct gates. Officers move quickly, blocking cameras, guiding him through a side entrance. The precinct is alive with noise, phones ringing, officers moving, reports printing. But behind a heavy steel door in a small gray room with no windows, silence rules. Keanu Reeves sits alone at a metal table, wrists still cuffed. A single bulb hums overhead, flickering faintly, casting long shadows across the walls. A paper cup of water sits untouched beside him. He looks tired, but not broken. His calm presence almost unnerving in the sterile chaos of the precinct. Minutes stretch into an hour. No one speaks to him. No lawyer. No explanation. Only the constant hum of rain against the roof and the faint murmur of police voices through the door. Finally, the door opens. The detective in the soaked trench coat walks in, this time without his hat. His face is pale, but his eyes are sharp, predatory. He tosses a manila folder onto the table. Photos spill out. Grainy stills of a dark figure entering Keanu's building, time-stamped, circled in red. The detective sits across from him. "You know this man?" Keanu studies the photos for a long moment. The figure's gait, his height, the way he holds his head, all too familiar. A memory flickers. A face from years ago, from a past he thought he'd buried. He exhales slowly. "I haven't seen him in years." The detective narrows his eyes. "That's not what the evidence says. We traced the fugitive signal to your penthouse Wi-Fi 2 nights ago. Someone was inside." Keanu's voice remains calm. "I live alone. My security system is offline when I'm home. You're chasing ghosts." The detective leans forward, voice lowering. "Then tell me why an ex-military operative who vanished after a double homicide in Berlin shows up at your address." For a moment, Keanu says nothing. His eyes lift, not defiant, not scared, but measured. "Because someone wants you to think he did," he says finally. "You're being played." The detective smirks. "You expect me to believe that?" Keanu tilts his head slightly, watching him. "No. I expect you to look deeper. If this man wanted me dead, he wouldn't knock. If he wanted to hide, he wouldn't use my name." The detective hesitates, just for a second, before standing up abruptly. "Stay right here," he snaps, gathering the photos and leaving the room. As the door closes, Keanu leans back in his chair. His reflection stares back from the one-way glass, calm eyes, a face hardened by loss and wisdom. Behind that glass, 2 other officers watch him. "Doesn't look guilty to me," one whispers. The other shakes his head. "Doesn't matter. Orders came from upstairs. They want him held until morning." Keanu senses it. The shift in tone, the hidden agenda. Something far beyond this room is at play. The man behind this setup isn't just framing him, he's testing him. Somewhere in the darkness of New York, a trap has been sprung, and Keanu Reeves is right at its center. Hours crawl by. The rain outside hasn't stopped. It beats against the windows like the city itself is restless, waiting for something to break. Inside the interrogation room, the air feels heavier now, filled with questions that have no answers. Keanu sits quietly, studying the reflections in the one-way glass. He knows they're still watching him, studying his every blink, every breath, waiting for a sign of guilt. But all they see is stillness. He's been here before, not this room, not this city, but this feeling. The quiet before something dark arrives. The door opens again. The detective returns, flanked by two plainclothes agents. Their suits are sharp, their eyes sharper. One drops a tablet on the table and presses play. A distorted voice crackles through the speaker, low, gravelly, altered. The target's been sheltered. Reeves knows where he is. He's helping him move through the city. The agents watch for Keanu's reaction. He doesn't flinch, but his pulse quickens. That voice, even disguised, he knows it. He leans forward slowly. "Where did you get that recording?" "Anonymous drop," says the detective. "Came in last week. Same night a mercenary shipment was intercepted at the port. All of it points to you." Keanu's hands tighten. Beneath his calm, his mind flashes back to a night years ago. Bucharest, 2014. A mission gone wrong. An operation he helped extract for humanitarian aid, but it had turned bloody when one of the men betrayed the unit. A man with a voice like this one. Victor Cade, a Black Ops soldier turned arms broker, ruthless, invisible, presumed dead. But Keanu knew better. He had seen that look before. The kind of man who survives anything to settle a debt. Keanu meets the detective's eyes. "That voice belongs to Victor Cade. He's the one you should be hunting." The detective frowns. Cade's been dead for years. Keanu shakes his head. "Then your dead man just called you." A silence hangs. The agents exchange wary looks. One of them steps out to verify, muttering into his earpiece. The detective remains, watching Keanu, half skeptical, half unsettled. Keanu continues, voice steady but edged with gravity. "He's not after me. He's after a message. He wants you to take me off the board, because if I'm in here, he moves freely out there." Outside, thunder cracks like a gunshot. The lights flicker. Somewhere deep in the precinct, alarms begin to beep. A systems breach. The detective's radio bursts alive with noise. "We've got a security override on the main network. Someone's accessing classified evidence files." Keanu's eyes harden. He's already inside. The detective stares at him, realization dawning. Keanu slowly stands, cuffs rattling. "You still think I'm your enemy?" The alarms intensify. Sirens outside scream anew. Screens flicker. And as the precinct plunges into chaos, Keanu whispers, "More to himself than anyone else, you should have listened. The real war just walked through your door." The alarms scream louder now, sharp, mechanical, and endless. Red lights spin through the glass panels of the precinct as officers rush in every direction, shouting over the noise. The storm outside has turned violent, thunder clashing with sirens in a chaotic symphony. Keanu stands motionless, wrists still bound in metal. His calm contrasts the panic around him. Through the confusion, he hears the faint hum of a drone, not police-issued, but military-grade. His instincts tighten. "He's coming," Keanu mutters. The detective shouts over the chaos, "Who's coming?" Keanu looks toward the window. The man you said was dead. And then it happens. A blinding explosion tears through the side of the building. The glass wall shatters inward, raining shards across desks and officers. The shockwave knocks people off their feet. Alarms die mid-scream. Smoke and dust fill the air as debris crashes down. Keanu hits the floor hard, his cuffed hands cutting against the metal table leg. Pain burns through his wrists, but he doesn't stop. He pulls, twists, and finally breaks the chain loose. Years of training kick in like muscle memory. Outside the ruined wall, the streets burn. Police cars overturned. Sirens echo from everywhere, blending with the sound of gunfire. Through the smoke, shadowed figures in tactical armor move with purpose. Not looters, but mercenaries. Victor Cade's men. Keanu grabs a fallen officer's sidearm, checks the chamber. Empty. He moves fast, sliding across the floor to a downed officer, taking his weapon. The detective stumbles beside him, bleeding from a cut on his forehead. "What the hell is happening?" the detective yells. Keanu pulls him behind cover. "He's here for the files, the evidence that clears me." Another explosion rocks the lower level. The power flickers out completely, plunging the building into darkness. Only flashes from gunfire and lightning reveal glimpses of the fight. Keanu guides the detective through the debris toward the stairwell. They pass wounded officers, some alive, some not. Every step echoes like a drumbeat in the dark. Halfway down, they hear boots, heavy, disciplined, voices in earpieces. "Sector clear, execute target if found." Keanu motions for silence. They duck behind a pillar as two mercenaries approach. In one fluid motion, he grabs the first by the collar, slamming him against the wall, disarming him with a precise twist. A single suppressed shot takes out the second. The detective stares, stunned. "You move like you've done this before." Keanu doesn't answer. He picks up a radio from the fallen mercenary and listens. Static. Then a voice, deep, calm, and cruel. Keanu's jaw tightens. "Then come finish it yourself." He looks out the shattered window, the skyline of New York burning under the storm, and something shifts in his eyes. The quiet actor the world knows is gone. What remains is the soldier, awakened, focused, and ready. The city burns. Rain can't put out the fires raging in the streets, or the chaos that swallowed New York whole. Smoke climbs into the sky like a signal flare to the heavens, while sirens scream across every block. Keanu Reeves moves through the shadows of an abandoned subway tunnel beneath Lower Manhattan. The detective, bruised and limping, follows close behind. The tunnel smells of metal, oil, and rainwater seeping through cracked stone. Keanu's breathing is calm, steady. Every step echoes like a countdown. He knows Cade is here. The mercenary always chooses places like this, dark, confined, poetic. As they move deeper underground, the sound of running water fades, replaced by something else, a slow, deliberate clap. "You never could walk away, could you?" Victor Cade steps out of the darkness, face half lit by a flickering subway light. His hair is streaked with gray now, his eyes hollow and cruel. He wears tactical armor, holding a pistol fitted with a suppressor. Keanu lowers his gun slightly. "You should have stayed dead." Cade smirks. "Death's overrated. You of all people should know that." They circle each other slowly. Two men shaped by violence, but separated by purpose. The detective hides behind a pillar, watching, helpless. Cade continues, his voice echoing through the tunnel. "You left me in Bucharest to die, Reeves. You walked away while I bled out in the snow." Keanu's eyes flash. "You killed civilians. You made your choice." "Choice?" Cade laughs bitterly. "We were weapons. You just forgot what you are." The words hang heavy between them. Then, a gunshot splits the silence. Both men dive for cover as bullets ricochet off steel. Sparks fly, pipes burst. The tunnel becomes a storm of fire and thunder all over again. Keanu rolls behind a support beam, returns fire. Each shot controlled, deliberate. Cade fires wildly, moving closer, forcing Keanu toward the end of the line, literally. Behind him, an idle subway train rests on the tracks, its lights flickering like dying fireflies. Keanu charges forward. In a blur of movement, he disarms Cade with a twist, their weapons clattering across the concrete. Fists take over where bullets fail. Each hit echoes like thunder, each breath like smoke. They slam against the side of the train, sparks flying as metal scrapes metal. Cade draws a knife, lunges, but Keanu sidesteps, twists his arm, and sends the blade spinning into the rails. A subway alarm blares. Power surges. Lights flicker back to life. The train roars suddenly, its systems rebooting. Keanu pins Cade down beside the rails, his gun pointed at him. Cade laughs through bloody teeth. "Go on, be the hero. Pull the trigger." He lowers the gun. The train screeches forward, sparks erupting. Cade screams as the gust of wind throws him back into darkness. Keanu stands motionless, drenched in sweat and rain, staring into the shadows. He knows Cade isn't dead. Not yet. But the war is over. For now. The storm finally breaks. Rain slows to a whisper. The sky softens from black to gray, and the first light of dawn crawls over the Manhattan skyline. Smoke still rises from the chaos below, from streets that only hours ago looked like a battlefield. News drones hover over the ruins of the NYPD precinct. Fire trucks line the streets. Reporters shout into cameras, their voices trembling with disbelief. Breaking news. Actor Keanu Reeves cleared of all charges following a violent midnight attack that has shaken New York. Inside an ambulance, Keanu sits quietly, his arm bandaged, his face streaked with soot and rain. Across from him, the detective, once his accuser, now looks at him with something closer to respect. "You saved us," the detective says quietly. "Half the department could have died tonight." Keanu shakes his head. "No, you saved yourselves when you started listening." The detective smiles faintly. "I was wrong about you." Keanu looks out the open doors of the ambulance. The city is waking up. People stepping out onto sidewalks, phones recording the aftermath, the world desperate for answers. But he doesn't want the attention. He never did. He steps out slowly, wincing at the stiffness in his shoulders. The crowd parts as he walks past. Some whisper, some reach out to touch his arm. A reporter shouts, "Keanu, were you involved in the attack? What happened inside the station?" He stops, the wind catching his coat, his eyes reflecting the rising sun. "Sometimes," he says softly, "the real enemies don't wear masks or uniforms. Sometimes they hide behind authority, behind trust, behind your own name." The cameras flash, trying to capture his every word, but Keanu turns away, disappearing into the mist that still hangs over the street. As he walks, the city seems to breathe again. Police sirens fade. Firefighters roll up hoses. The chaos becomes memory. He passes a street musician, the same one he saw the night before, now playing a slow, mournful tune on his violin. The melody drifts through the air like a prayer for peace. Keanu stops, listens, then reaches into his pocket and drops a folded photo into the musician's open case. A photo of him and his old team years ago, smiling in the snow. Then he walks on. Up ahead, the first rays of sunlight pierce the skyline. The city, bruised but unbroken, shines gold against the morning clouds. The detective watches from a distance as Keanu turns a corner and disappears into the crowd. No headlines, no speeches, no celebration. Just a quiet man walking away from the fire. Later that day, a federal report will confirm everything he said. The data breach, the mercenaries, the fabricated evidence. His name will be cleared, but Keanu won't be there to see it. He'll be on a train out of the city, watching the world blur past the window, his reflection blending with the light.